Hey guys, so today I'm going to do a video about like a beginner's guide to crystals. We're going to go over just how you can sort of dive in to meanings where it's not overwhelming. I'm going to go over book recommendations. I'm going to go over shapes of crystals because that also kind of helps with the meanings, like shapes and colors. And I'm also going to do like a crystal collection of my own. So I've been actively buying and working with crystals for about a year now. And that's when I really sort of like dove into wanting to learn and everything. So I'm very much still kind of a beginner as well. I don't have everything memorized, but what better way to talk to beginners than to be very close to that beginner mindset myself. I've done this with tarot in the past as well, and will probably continue to do so in different ways. I have a thread on Twitter about like a beginner's guide to tarot written by a beginner. So this is kind of in that same vein as well. And yeah, so let's just start getting into this stuff. I was gonna say I have a modest collection, but it's definitely grown a lot. I used to spend like maybe $20 when I would go, $30 maybe. And now the last two times I've spent 60, 70, stuff like that. You don't have to spend that much. You definitely don't have to have a collection, even as big as this. You can definitely make things work for you. But yeah, I was gonna say I have a modest collection, but I don't necessarily think that's true. I don't have a huge, ginormous collection, and a lot of my pieces are really small because I don't spend like a ton of money on pieces. So yeah, I don't buy really big crystals yet at this point in my life. I just don't feel like I have that extra income right now to be like investing in huge pieces, but I definitely have my eye on some. Every time I go to this one store, there's this sphere of tourmaline quartz that always catches my eye. It has been ever since I've walked into that store. So maybe one day it'll be meant to be. There's also like this huge red jasper tower that I've been wanting to get that's like $95. I think the sphere is pretty big. It's like this big and it's a thing of tourmaline quartz. I think it's like $150. So yeah, you definitely can get big, expensive pieces, but you can also have a pretty decent collection for not that much. I would say all of these crystals together haven't costed me $200 yet, I don't think. Not quite $200 for all of these, and it's been spread out over a year, like I've said, and probably 4 trips, I would say, to different stores. Yeah, I bought these all locally as well. If you don't have stores near you though, there's definitely a lot of like Etsy places, a lot of people on social media. You just really have to take your time more, I would say, to really feel the vibe of the person who's selling them. And we're going to talk about what to look out for when you're looking for certain crystals too, whether it's real or not. We're going to talk about that too. But anyway, books that I recommend. First of all, if you don't want to invest in, the Crystal Bible series, I have the 3rd one coming next week. Then this book is absolutely amazing. My sister bought it for me for Christmas, I think last year, maybe the year before. And it's this one, The Crystal Code by Tamara Dreesen, I think is how you pronounce her name. And it's just such a good book. It is also a very aesthetically pleasing, like it's a nice looking book and the inside looks really cool, but it has just different like parts to it. It teaches you how to connect with crystals, it's basically everything you need to know in a very condensed version. It doesn't have every crystal in existence, but the most popular ones are in here. So it's a really good resource to have if you're just diving into things, and I still use this now. There are some like astrology books that are for beginners that I don't still go back and read because I'm like past that point or whatever, but this one I still look at a lot. So I definitely recommend that. And then obviously the cult classic, I don't know how to describe it, of the Crystal Bible series by Judy Hall. These are 2 of them. Like I said, the 3rd one is on its way. I finally ordered it. Those books are really good. So some of this information I'm sharing are from those. Some of them are from online sources. You can use online sources too, and I'm sure there are a lot of content creators that talk about crystals as well that you can follow. I haven't been on social media in a while, so I don't know if I have any recommendations, but I definitely will like retweet people and stuff like that on my account for people that you should check out in the future. I'm always like promoting people when I am using social media. So I'm editing right now, and I just wanted to insert and say that one of my favorite accounts from before when I was on social media is still posting, has been posting while I've been gone, and that's Libra Moonstone. And yeah, definitely recommend for crystals and just a ton of other feel-good content to nourish your soul. So definitely follow at Libra Moonstone on Twitter and Instagram. The meanings can get very dense and intense if you look at a book like this. This one is written also in a very accessible way. This one is kind of like you need to know the spiritual language to get, but they have a glossary and stuff that kind of explains words if you're not familiar with them. But this one's really like layperson friendly if you're not really into spiritual stuff, but you are kind of interested in crystals, and this is a good book for that. These descriptions are a lot shorter than the other ones, a lot less wordy. They're more kind of like a friend talking to you about crystals rather than like looking at a source that you kind of have to think more about the meaning and stuff like that. So descriptions can be kind of confusing, especially when you're first starting. You don't really know what that means, and it's hard to memorize because it's kind of like where are they pulling these meanings from? How did we get to this meaning for this crystal? And I'm always about the hows and whys. And now let's get into the colors. These are just a shortcut that you could do to kind of remember what they are. And then specifics, deeper specifics, you could read, you could look it up online, stuff like that. Let's talk about clear first. So I have clear quartz and selenite. My nails also are horrible. I'm waiting until they all fall off so I can heal my nails a little bit to get them done again. I had a horrible experience, so let's ignore how disgusting my nails are. I probably should have waited to do this crystal video until I had presentable nails, but whatever, I don't care. So we have clear quartz and we have selenite. Selenite is also my favorite. As you'll see when I get more into my collection, I have an obsession with selenite. I want to get every single type of selenite that there is. But yeah, these are very similar. When you see something clear or white, it's definitely going to be like purifying, clarifying, cleansing, that type of energy. Clear quartz is known to like amplify other crystals and stuff like that. So that's when you see clear, you think, or white, you think purity, cleansing, things like that. A blank slate is this. On the opposite end, you have black crystals. These are both obsidian. This is an Apache tier. It's kind of a weird name. I want to learn more about why this is called that, like where it got its name from. Black crystals are protection, like breaking negativity, banishing negativity, things like that. So very protective stones. Should we just do it in rainbow order? Sure, let's do that. So red. This is red tiger's eye. You can't really tell that it's red, but it is red. Red crystals are about like passion and action and like that fiery, energetic type of vibe that you would get from the color red. And we have orange. So this is orange. This is orange selenite, and that's a thing too, where you'll have like what a crystal means at its core, like selenite, but then you'll have different types of selenite, different colors, kind of like stacking on top of each other, meanings and like further defining things. So these are orange. Orange is more about like creativity and inspiration, things like that. You might recognize these color meanings. They're very similar to color meanings that you would have for candles for like magic work. Basically, creativity is the main thing that you have to remember. So we have yellow. Yellow's optimism. It's very bright and sunny. It's said that like things that are yellow have like the power of the sun. That's said a lot in some of the meanings of things that have this color to them. Green is abundance mostly, because our money, I guess, in America is green, so I guess that's why they say green is abundance. And you'll also see people associate crystal colors with chakra colors if you're familiar with them. I'm not super familiar with chakras. It's something that I want to really take the time to dive into, because I feel like a lot of spirituality from India is very appropriated, especially the chakras. It's very watered down, so it's something that I really want to dive into with things that are directly from the source. So I'm not like super knowledgeable about chakras, but I know that green is the heart chakra, so a lot of times green and green will have meanings surrounding the heart. Blue is just very calming. You think of the water, you think of the sky, and yeah, water is also known to be very calming, very emotional, like emotional intelligence, things like that. Blue is also like the throat chakra, so they're good for communication. And then purple is a very spiritual color. Yeah, connecting with your intuition and things like that would be what purple is for. Amethyst, which is what this is, an amethyst wand, is really good for like prophetic dreams and like that kind of thing as well. And now I want to go into like different shapes and textures. I have notes that I'm going to be looking at while I do this. And shapes, by the way, is something where like you use different shapes for different purposes. You don't have to. Like I said, if like, let's say this obsidian sphere, this is the only obsidian I had for a while. And just because it's a sphere doesn't mean I only have to use it for sphere purposes. You can use it for obsidian purposes too. But if you want to just like double up on things, then you can take the shape into account as well. On the list here, the first one I have listed is a geode, which I do have now. It's right here. Geodes basically look like this on the outside, and then you crack into them, and then you see all of that in there, and you see the beauty within. It also is said to like soften the energies so that it flows out gently, whereas something like a wand is very pointed when it comes to energy. Yeah, geode, very like diffusing type of energy of the crystal that's within. And then a cluster, it has a lot of different points into it. I'm not sure if you can see there, but you see that point right there, that point right there, and it is radiating that energy outward, because a lot of these points are like the wand, like I showed you before, where it's pointing things specifically out. So it's like putting that in a more, not diffusing gently because it's not round, but it's pointed outwards, and so it's radiating energy out. These are really good then for environments, because if you put this on like a coffee table or something, it's going to give the whole room the energy of this crystal. But again, if you just have crystals sitting out, it can have the same vibe. And then point, like I was saying before, this is a point, and you can do the same thing with wands that are not necessarily pointed, like this selenite wand right here. These are for focusing energy and like where you point it. So if you have this in a crystal grid and you want this specifically to point in a specific direction or whatever, then that's what you would use this for. If you're pointing this towards something, you're channeling that energy into it. If you're pointing it outwards, you're drawing that energy away. Double termination would be kind of something like this. I would consider this a point. This is obviously like an artificially made point, like it was polished to look like this, but this is like a natural point right here, which is kind of good that I have this so that I can show you the different types, because you'll either see natural points like this or you'll see them made from the crystal like that. So I could use this as the example for double terminated as well, but this is balanced because it's pointing in both directions. It bridges energy, it's doing things simultaneously, like drawing in, drawing out. We have a pyramid. I have an amethyst pyramid as well. It's this little tiny one. And pyramids can either be natural or artificial, and they're enhancing energy and focusing energy. They're good for amplifying intentions. And then, like I said before, we have the sphere. So I have this one right here, and this is kind of a sphere. It's not as round. Yeah, so the sphere is emitting energy from all directions again, like I said, and a lot of spheres are used for scrying. Scrying is it's a divination technique, but you can see messages, and you can do that scrying like into a crystal ball. You've obviously probably seen that in a lot of movies and stuff like that. Tea leaves, like you've seen in Harry Potter. People can read tea leaves, and that's also a form of scrying because they're looking for images. You can scry using smoke, looking for images in the smoke, stuff like that, but spheres are a way to do that as well. I have never really tried scrying before, so I don't know if you just like look at it and like really intensely. I'm kind of bad at stuff like that because I'm a Virgo. I'm still very logical, so I'm trying my best. And an egg, which I would guess this is kind of shaped like an egg, but there are ones that are definitely more clearly egg shaped, and you can use it kind of like a stress ball. I use any sphere, especially if it's small, like a stress ball as well. You can kind of like twiddle it in your fingers, feel the energy that way. And if you do have like a classic egg shape, you can use the point of that egg to like focus the energy and use it for, what does it say? Reflexology, an acupressure tool. It detects and rebalances blockages. That's what I wrote. So I guess that's what you can do with an egg. And then we have tumbled. A lot of crystals will come tumbled. Here's an example. It's not like necessarily in a specific shape, it's just smooth. Another example that we saw before, nails are atrocious. I can't. Tumbled, all the rough edges of the crystal are smoothed out. They're really good to carry with you. I've done this before where I put them in a little pouch and I carried it in my pocket at work before. They're also not rough, so if you're like meditating with them, you can like rest them on your body and stuff like that. And then obviously you have raw versions of crystals that are just kind of in their natural form. And these are just very strong acting because they're in as natural of their form as possible. Like they're just cut and they carry, not that polished crystals are like less potent or anything, or at least I don't believe so, but there's just something about like the rawness of a raw crystal, and they're said to be strong acting and instant. Then we also have a square. This is kind of a square. This is as close to a square as I can get. A square, some of them are formed naturally, but this one's obviously polished and cut to look like this. They're consolidating energy within the form. They anchor intentions. They're good for grounding and bringing stability. And the natural formations of square crystals can transform negative energy. So that's cool. And yeah, those are the shapes of crystals. What are these words that I'm saying? What is a crystal grid? What do you do with your crystals? How do you do all of that? So a way to cleanse and charge your crystals at the same time is you can do moonlight. A lot of people do that on a full moon. Make sure it's not an eclipse. Please, God, make sure it's not an eclipse. Eclipse energy is very volatile and crazy. It is like banishing and stuff like that. But you don't necessarily want to charge your crystals unless that's your intention for them under an eclipse. So please, God, make sure it is not an eclipse. That's just a plain old full moon, and that'll be fine. You can put water out on a full moon. Make sure it's covered, especially if you're gonna drink it. But you can put moon water out, and then you have that moon water to like wash off your crystals. Not every crystal can get wet. Like selenite cannot get wet. Malachite, you can't. It's like poisonous, I think. So it's not a good idea to ingest water that this has been in. So also make sure that your crystal is okay to be in water. If you're gonna do that, you can also run it under just running water. You can go to your sink and you can put a crystal under it and run the water over it with the intention that you're cleansing the crystal, and then that's good. You can also do sunlight. A lot of people don't do sunlight, but that can happen as well. Just know that some crystals will fade in sunlight. This is my turquoise, and I feel like it has faded a little bit. So you might want to keep some of your crystals away from direct sunlight. You can also use smoke of any kind. You can use incense, any type of smoke clearing. I have a lot of opinions about people using the word smudging who are not native and don't know what smudging is. But that's a topic for another time. But either way, you can still use smudge sticks and cleanse your crystals with them. It's not appropriation unless you're calling it smudging, because smudging is a very very specific thing that Native Americans do to connect with their ancestors and things like that they believe. So if you're not Native American, it's like, why would you be smudging? Also, what you'll find in the books is that a lot of crystals have many meanings. If you want to use a crystal for a specific purpose, you, what is it called? Like empowering the crystal, or I don't even know what it's called. I forgot what it's called. But you have that intention and you put that intention into it, and then you can use it for that specific purpose. And then also you can cleanse it, bring it back to its normal state. And then if you wanted to use it for a different purpose, then you can do that as well. Some crystals don't need to be cleansed, like citrine is one of those that doesn't need to be cleansed. Clear quartz can cleanse other crystals. That's another thing as well. Like if I had a bigger one, I could set crystals on top of it and then they would be cleansed. Something like obsidian, where is it? Something like obsidian needs to be cleansed after every use because it holds so much negative energy. Keep your black crystals cleansed for sure. And yeah, and then like crystal grids and meditation and stuff like that. How do I use my crystals? I will meditate with them. I'll bring them to work, like I said. I have them displayed, and I can insert clips because I showed you guys like my shelf and stuff like that with all my crystals. And then I keep my spheres. Right now I'm keeping my spheres, my round ones that are kind of slippery, in this shell that I have. Yeah, so I do meditate with them. I've meditated with citrine before and green calcite, and I've meditated with a lot of different crystals that I have. And you can a lot of them were for attracting abundance. I've done that a lot in my time. And I'm sure other people do this. This is just something that I like came up with. It's not like I saw this online or on somebody's Instagram and I was like, oh, that's a good idea, I'm gonna do that too. This is just something that came into my mind, but it's not, I'm not saying it's an original thought in that way, like I'm the first person to ever do this, but it was an original thought in the sense that this is what like my intuition told me to do. Is sometimes I'll pull like a tarot card of something that I want, like in the citrine example, I would pull like the 10 of Pentacles or the Queen of Pentacles, because Pentacles is also like about stability and abundance and money. And I'll put that and then this on top of it, and then it'll be kind of like an altar space. And it's just on like my nightstand or like my bookshelf on top or something like that. But then it'll be like a small altar space for me, which could be a little bit more discreet, maybe, unless you have your parents coming in your room all the time. Instead of having like a huge crystal grid and an altar set up, it's something that's a little bit more discreet, but it still holds that meaning because I did that with intention, and these are things that represent the thing that I wanted to attract into my life. So that's just an idea. But now we're gonna go over all of the crystals that I have. I might do like pop-ups of like just brief meaning things, but let's start with my selenite collection because I love my selenite collection. I have this wand, like I showed you, this was one of the first crystals that I got. This is polished selenite, which is something I had never really seen. Usually when you see people with selenite, it's in these raw wands. Some of them are really big too. I also do have a selenite smudging wand in my room on the shelf thing, which you saw in the clip. The reason why I got this one is because my friend and roommate, she has tumbled selenite, and one time I was just like looking at her crystals and I was like playing with it, and I was like, I really like the way that this feels. So I got one for myself. This one I set on top of my tarot cards, because you can do that as well to cleanse your tarot cards. It's like have quartz or selenite on top of it. This is Desert Rose. Reminds me of the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia clip. And this is a really small one. Like, what can I put for comparison? Well, this is my eye, which is crazy because I'm pretty sure I bought this for, oh, I don't know, like maybe like it's somewhere between $5 and $7. But then when we went to the crystal shop the other day, there was bigger Desert Rose pieces for the same price. So that was a different crystal shop. So I don't know. I have my Phantom, Golden Phantom, or whatever they're called, selenites. This one I got from a friend of a friend who runs Tres Ojos, which I will absolutely link below, like all the time, because I love them. They do a lot of art and like witchy stuff and stoner stuff as well. So basically all of my aesthetic in the shop, and I love them. I went to high school with one of them, but we were never like super close. But then she hired my sister at a job, and now my roommate and my friend, like she's really good friends with her. So she's been like a part of my life recently. That's what I got from them. And then this one I got from a crystal shop. This one is a lot more, obviously like not as clear as this one. You can really see that gold in there. And then this one. These are rare forms of selenite, so they're gonna be a little bit more expensive. This one was 20, I think this one was also 20. And this one, even though it's small, is definitely worth the price because you can just see, like, I don't know if the camera is doing it justice, but it just looks really cool. And then I just bought the other day, this is orange selenite, I believe. And when it was in the bowl with all the other ones that look just, look at my hand, look at that. Only one nail is standing. Sorry, it's just really bothering me. But when it was in the bowl with all of the other ones, it looked like a forbidden snack. So I was like drawn to it immediately. They also had palm stones that was orange selenite, which I have to go get because they looked so beautiful and I was so attracted to it, but I'm like, I'm already buying this piece. Should I buy two? I don't know. So yeah, this is all my selenite. Can I fit it all on one hand? And this is just the beginning of my selenite collection because I'm obsessed. But yeah, this is all my selenite. Can barely fit it all in one hand. Speaking of not wanting duplicates, this is the one crystal that I did buy a duplicate of because I was just so drawn to both of these pieces. It's chrysocolla, I think is how you pronounce it. And again, if I pronounce any of these wrong, I've never heard them said. I've only read them. But yeah, this is chrysocolla, I think is how you pronounce it. But this is just a tumbled piece, and this is a heart. And that's one thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about shapes, is that crystals will come in different shapes as well. You'll see skulls, you'll see hearts, you'll see angels. They can also not alter the meaning, but it can add meaning just like all the other shapes can, like the hearts, especially if you're using things for love and stuff like that, then you can do that. I think this one was like $15. Usually when you get the sculpted ones, they can be a little bit more, but I thought it was cool. And this is the only heart that I have currently. I'm gonna say this one before I forget the name. I think it's Septarian. Love that. And let's show you all my jasper that I have. This is Bumblebee jasper, which I love. I just love jasper in general. That's another thing that I'm probably gonna get one of each of, or if not more, because I just love it. This is crocodile jasper. It's a palm stone. I didn't talk about palm stones. Palm stones are also things that you can like hold in your hand and get the energy directly that way, and you can really feel it and like play with it in your hands. Yeah, palm stones I didn't talk about, but that is crocodile jasper. And then this is Dalmatian jasper, which I like had an obsession with, and that's why I had to get this. And it was kind of a motivation to even go to the crystal shop because I kept seeing this online and I was like, I need a Dalmatian jasper. So I got that one. And then let's do this one before I forget the name of it too, because I kind of did anyway. Oh, this is jade, but it's purple jade, which is really cool. I've never seen this before. I just got this the other day and I thought the strip on the end was cool right here. And then I can show you my amethyst. Amethyst reminds me of my sister because amethyst is the February birthstone. And even though she's a Pisces, and amethyst I think is like Aquarius stone, it's the February birthstone. So this amethyst pyramid, this was $5. These little tiny pyramids aren't that bad. This is the point that I got. And then this is pink amethyst, is that geode I showed you earlier. This I also just bought. This also I had never heard of before until I bought it. And yeah, I didn't have any geodes like this, so I thought it was really cool. And actually, fun fact, me and my friend slash roommate who I've been talking about went to the crystal store together. We've gone together like 3 times now. The only time I've been to the crystal store alone is the first time I've ever went to one. But she eyed this one and she almost got it, but then I got it instead. So it needed to be in this house. It was meant to be. Love amethyst. I didn't have it in my collection for a while, and then now I have 3 pieces of amethyst. So there's that. This is also one of the first crystals that I got, and it wasn't that expensive, even though it's a really hefty, like nice piece of crystal. So I don't know if this is something different or if this is just part of the calcite. Maybe it's purple calcite, I don't know. But yeah, this was sold to me as green calcite because that's right here. So if anybody knows what the deal with this is, if it's just part of the green calcite or like if that's something special, let me know. This is still one of my favorite pieces. Earlier I showed you all of my obsidian and the Apache tier. So I have the obsidian sphere, like I said earlier. This is one of the first crystals that I bought, and then I got a raw form. And obsidian is the black crystal that called to me, and it still does. A lot of people like black tourmaline. Again, don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I really like obsidian. And you might notice that too, where like some people might like rose quartz, but other people might like pink tourmaline, and they have very similar meanings, but you might be drawn to one over the other. But yeah, so this is raw obsidian. Obsidian is actually molten lava, I believe. It's very glass-like. And then this is the Apache tier. And then this one. I never thought that I was gonna get one of these because, I don't know, it never really called to me, but this was a really cool piece, so this one really spoke to me. But this is blue lace agate, and it is agate because I heard that one pronounced, and when I first heard it I was like, agate? I always thought it was a gate, and I think a gate sounds better, but it's technically agate. This is blue lace agate. You know that because it has that in it. And yeah, this is just a really nice calming piece. Love it a lot. Like I said, I didn't expect to have this in my collection right now because I haven't really been drawn to agate like that lately, or at all, I guess, in the last year. But I could not pass this up because something about it just really spoke to me. One of the stones that I really like, and I probably will get a lot of pieces of because I think they're so cool, is pyrite. This is fool's gold, is another name for it. And I really like pyrite so much. And they have like pyrite skulls and pyrite spheres, and it's cool because it's not like perfectly polished. You can still see some of this in it when you see it in a skull or in a sphere. So I definitely want to get those someday. But yeah, they're just really cool and sparkly. We have rose quartz, which is definitely the type of quartz that I was drawn to most. This is one of the first crystals that I got as well in that first crystal trip that I went to. And it's just a piece of raw rose quartz. And I've definitely meditated with this a lot because I've had a lot of love issues, both self and within relationships, a lot in the last year. So love rose quartz. And we have turquoise. Turquoise reminds me of my grandma because she loves turquoise. She has a lot of turquoise jewelry. Turquoise is often, you'll see howlite dyed to look like turquoise. I might find a picture and put that up. The reason how you know it's turquoise is because the veins have texture to them. They don't just look like they're printed on top, which howlite kind of has the appearance that it's a stone with the gray veins like kind of on top of it. But turquoise, you can feel the texture. Even though this is a polished piece of turquoise, you can still feel that the grooves have that texture to it, which makes it a real piece of turquoise. And like I said, this faded a little bit, but yeah. And then I'm gonna do these together because I kind of bought them as a package deal. This is Sunstone, and this is Rainbow Moonstone. And Moonstone, you're not gonna be able to see it in this lighting, but sometimes it can have like a rainbow opaly effect. Be careful for, speaking of that, people selling opalite as Moonstone because that's not even what it is at all. But yeah, Sunstone and Moonstone. And it obviously has sun and moon in the name, so you can invoke the energy of the sun or the energy of the moon with these. Okay, so speaking of fake crystals, while I'm just on that vibe, I almost dropped it. This is citrine, and this is a real piece of citrine. It is polished, and it's wonderful. I love this guy. I've used this guy a lot. Citrine is often amethyst heated to look darker than this. You'll know that it's heat treated citrine if it's super dark. Real citrine is very pale yellow, almost clear in a lot of instances. And heat treated citrine isn't necessarily bad. In the beginner book that I showed you, not the Judy Hall ones, but the other one, the Crystal Code, she has a section on heat treated citrine and like how it alters the meaning. In the Judy Hall book, it says that most citrine that is sold is heat treated amethyst. But so maybe that's just like the name for heating amethyst, and it's like a man-made stone, because there are man-made stones. There is opalite, like I said before, there's goldstone and bluestone, and there are man-made stones. But if you're selling it as citrine, that's where I feel kind of weird about it, because it's not. Unless of course, like that's the name for heat-treated amethyst, and then you would call this natural citrine. I just feel like there should be a distinction there. And that's what kind of skews me out, is when people try to sell heat-treated citrine as actual, like, natural citrine. But this is what a natural piece looks like, just for your reference. It's very pale yellow. Smoky quartz also, if it's dark gray, it is probably treated to look that way. If it's like really dark black, then it's probably treated to look that way, which again isn't necessarily an issue, but then say that it's treated to look that way. Don't sell it as smoky quartz, and that's what smoky quartz looks like, because smoky quartz is a lot lighter in color naturally. I don't have a problem with man-made crystals. I just have a problem of like selling it in that way. So yeah, then moving on. I talked before about malachite and how it can be expensive. This is my malachite piece. And malachite is so cool. You'll see this in sculptures a lot, like turtles and stuff like that. I want to get a malachite turtle so bad, but they're so expensive. But yeah, this is a nice piece of malachite for only $7, which again is kind of expensive because this, I don't think, was $7, for instance. This is citrine, but I think it's just like a commonality thing. Things are more common. It also maybe takes more to get polished like this. I don't really know. Maybe the process is different and that's why it's expensive, but yeah, I'm glad that I found this for a pretty good price for this size, because a lot of times you'll get like tiny pieces of malachite for like $5, and I didn't want that. So I was either gonna splurge to get a really cool like malachite turtle, or, you know, I was gonna get one of these. And for right now, I like this one. Malachite's really cool. I think a lot of people are drawn to malachite. This is lapis, little tiny piece of lapis. Lapis is cool. It reminds me of Minecraft. Aquamarine, and aquamarine ranges in colors. So this is a really light one, and this is a raw piece, obviously. But you'll see it in a lot of different colors, so it's not necessarily enhanced if it's darker than this. This is just a really light piece of aquamarine. My clear quartz cluster. This is the first piece of clear quartz that I've bought, and I thought the cluster was really cool. And I finally have clear quartz, which I feel like it's like one of those everyone needs to have type of things. This is another type of quartz. This is cherry quartz, and cherry quartz is man-made it's putting two things together. So it's putting quartz together with, what is it called? I'll put the name down here, but it's another stone, and they kind of mix them together to make cherry quartz that I had never heard of before. And then I just bought this recently on that last trip that I went to a couple days ago, and I just thought it was really cool. It's not doing it justice. Yeah, you can't really see it, but yeah, cherry quartz is really cool. They had cherry quartz points and stuff there that looked so cool that I almost got, but I just got a little piece instead. And then lastly, I have my tiger's eye things. I have a piece of regular gold tiger's eye. I love the shift in it. I love tiger's eye so much. This stone is all about like confidence and stuff like that. And this is blue tiger's eye. And then I showed this earlier, but this is red. Ooh, that, yeah, you can really see that. Oh, you can see the phone forward facing camera in the reflection. But yeah, that has a shift too. And I love tiger's eye, and that's why I have all these colors. And yeah, so that is my crystal collection. Like I said, not a very modest collection anymore. It's definitely grown a lot over time. I've been recording for almost an hour, which is crazy. Hopefully I said everything that I wanted to. Like I said, this is kind of like an intro to the whole crystal world. You can follow me on Twitter, you can follow me on Instagram, you can subscribe if you want to know more about astrology and all these other topics. I'll have a podcast coming out soon. This is the first video that I'm filming for my channel where I'm taking it seriously and actually uploading content and making content. I'm so excited to be back. Thank you guys for sticking around if you're still here. And yeah, so I will see you next time. Bye. Doing this, you can really see how messed up my nails are. Maybe nobody cares and I'm the only one who does, but